So Kamala Harris recently did an interview with USA Today, and the topic was, what is your vision for the future, specifically for women? And then eventually it's about women of color. And this interview managed to get 6.6 thousand dislikes and only 968 likes. It's probably, in terms of ratio-wise, it's probably the worst ratio I've ever seen on YouTube. Take a look at this video and why it's so bad.
USA Today throughout the year are going to be celebrating women. We're going to be talking about extraordinary accomplishments, especially women who've been helping women. We know this pandemic has been particularly impactful on women, and that's what we want to talk to you about today, the road ahead.
The road ahead.
As you've written yourself, more than 2.5 million women have left the workforce. Many have lost jobs in industries hurt by the pandemic. Others have had to leave because of childcare or caretaking. So 2020 was devastating. And we'd love to hear your vision for our country and for its women in 2021.
Your vision, Vice President Kamala Harris. We want to hear your vision for the future, for 2021. What's your vision? Let's go. Here we go.
So the pandemic has been devastating to so many families, to our economy, to our children. And in the midst of this...
The journalist already prefaced the question with this. Your job as a politician is to answer the journalist's question, not to repeat what the journalist says.
Profound crisis, and actually crises.
Crises?
I think there are so many heroes and angels who have been exposed.
There are heroes
for their
and angels.
Courage, for the value and the importance of their work, and for their courage to keep doing it even in the face of exposing themselves and their families to harm, and in particular exposure to COVID.
The question was, what is your vision for women in the future?
I think of, in particular, how I was raised, and there are 3 women who had a profound impact on who I am today.
So now we're going to talk about Kamala Harris, how there are 3 women that impacted who she is, that she can think about. The question was, what's your vision for women in the future? She's going to talk about she's going to talk about herself, because that's what she thought. When we talk about women, Kamala Harris thinks that what we really mean is we're going to talk about Kamala Harris. Not about women, just a woman. That's it. Just Kamala Harris. That's it. So I'm going to skip this part because of copyright purposes and whatnot. But yeah, here's the first woman. She talks about her. No solutions. Then she goes to the next woman. Talks about her. No solutions. Then she goes to the third woman. Talks about her. No solutions. You don't believe me? Go watch this video. And then here's her wrap up
of this pandemic, but developing and creating the things that will save us and save lives. And my mother was a scientist. My mother had 2 goals in her life: to raise her 2 daughters and end breast cancer. And she would actually take us to the lab with her.
How are you smiling right now? She's dodging your question. How are you smiling? She's completely dodging your question.
Often. And I watched how these scientists, they have this passion. It's a deep passion to improve human life and condition, and to see what is possible, unburdened by what has been, to see what can be. So those are some of the things that I've been thinking about during the course of the pandemic.
That's what she's thinking about during the course of the pandemic. She's thinking about herself and who influenced her. That's what she's been thinking about during the pandemic. It's right from the horse's mouth. It's right from the horse's mouth.
And of course, all of the folks I'm talking about are women.
All of them are women, right? So I answered the question, right? They're all women, right? So it's all good. The title of this video has women, right? Yeah. Okay, so I talked about women. I answered the question, right?
And it really highlights,
smiling.
I think, the work that women have historically done and the work that women are doing currently.
As we know.
So, no answer. No answer. What's the vision? Where is it? I don't see it. Maybe if any of you neoliberals want to comment in the comment section where you see her vision in that answer, I don't see it.
Black and brown women have borne the brunt of this crisis in healthcare, jobs, caretaking, etc. It's just different for women of color. It's more critical. It's more devastating. What are the answers? How can we pay special attention to these folks.
What are the answers? How can we pay special attention to women of color? Get ready for this non-answer.
So, listen, I think that the pandemic has exposed the failures, the fractures, the fissures that have long existed.
She's prefacing her answer with explaining that we're in a crisis again. She's literally doing the same thing she did in response to the first question. But the journalist prefaced again in the follow-up question that women of color are in a deeper crisis. What are you going to do for women of color? And then Kamala Harris responds, women of color, women are in a devastating position right now.
Existed in our society and has made them bigger and more obvious. We had racial disparities long before this pandemic struck. And when we talk specifically about black women, take, for example, the fact.
So now we're going to talk about black women. So specifically black women right now.
That even before this pandemic, black women were 3 to 4 times likely to suffer from maternal mortality
before the pandemic
during childcare or childbirth than other women.
What are the answers, Kamala? That's the question. And she's just like nodding away, like, yeah, I'm getting an answer here. Yeah, there's no answer. There's a reason you have 6.6 thousand dislikes.
Let's take, for example, what we have seen during the course of the pandemic, which is that black folks are exponentially more likely to contract the virus and die from it because of longstanding disparities around the delivery of healthcare and healthcare accessibility. And when we talk about black women specifically, you can look at the frontline workers.
Why are we not talking about brown women? I know, like, you just got. Now, keep in mind, Kamala Harris is in charge of immigration policy now. She is in charge of all immigration. She oversees the executive branch in immigration. She is your leader for immigration. And so, of course, she wants to throw brown people under the bus. So she's only going to talk about black women right now.
Those folks who, be it in childcare or
frontline workers.
in
Black
healthcare.
Frontline. We're talking about black women who are frontline workers, okay?
Who throughout the pandemic have been going to work every day, often taking public transportation, exposing themselves during the course of getting to work, much less at work, to the virus, and but doing the work that has actually been about saving lives. But
black women specifically are doing the work that are saving lives? That's why you specifically targeted black women? Because brown women are experiencing the exact same things that you're talking about. So why are you... The question was about women of color. If you go back to the question was about women of color, black and brown women. But Kamala Harris says, I'm going to talk about specifically black women. And again, the question was about solutions, answers, none given.
But taking a much bigger toll in terms of the harm that they've experienced from not only exposure to the virus, but exposure to the inequities around pay, around paid family leave, around paid sick leave.
Do black women experience different paid sick leave than, like, can you explain what you mean? On top of that, this is not an answer. It's like you're trying to teach us and you're doing it wrong. You're just talking about black women. Do brown women essential workers not matter? Do they not do these things? Is there something that brown women essential workers don't do? They don't work hard or something? What is your point here?
Around affordable childcare. These are all issues that have disproportionately impacted black women in the workforce.
Black women. Black women. Not brown women. Person who's in charge of the immigration policies that Joe Biden wants to enforce. Black women specifically. Not brown women. This is the most racist thing I've ever seen.
I'm told the majority of minimum wage workers are women and women of color, right?
Majority of workers are women that are paid minimum wage, $7.25 an hour, are women and women of color. That's a big problem. Holy shit. What are the answers, Kamala?
And by the way, federal minimum wage is $7.25 an hour, and the math on that is that's $15,000 a year.
$15,000 a year? You're smiling. You passed a bill that mandated the minimum wage to be $7.25. You could have said, I'm going to veto any bill that doesn't have $15 minimum wage. The Biden administration could have done that. They didn't. They didn't do that. They voted for it. They said, yep, we're good. Now we're done here. We're not going to talk about the minimum wage again. Then up next, I think, is taxes on the rich, which they're probably going to fuck that up too. We're not even going to talk about the minimum wage anymore, even though that's a big fucking deal. I'm going to go back. I just want you to hear this.
Right? And by the way, federal minimum wage is $7.25 an hour, and the math on that is that's $15,000 a year. All right? And we are talking about those same jobs disproportionately being jobs that do not give paid sick leave, paid family leave. Those are jobs that make childcare unaffordable. And so what do we need to do?
They make childcare unaffordable. $15,000 a year makes childcare unaffordable? I think $15,000 a year makes everything unaffordable. How do you pay rent? How do you pay for food? How do you pay for water? Like the fuck, you can't even pay for the basic like electricity bills and shit. Internet, phone, go down the list. The things that people like human beings need nowadays in order to survive. No, the thing that $15,000 a year workers can't afford is childcare? The fuck? That's like, yeah, you're right. You're right. I mean, there are a lot of other things, though, that they can't afford. Maybe we should mention those things, too? Maybe? No, okay.
We need to have a commitment.
By the way, let me just clarify something. The problem here is that the minimum wage is $7.25 an hour. You all know that, right? Kamala Harris, though, thinks that the problem is this paid sick leave thing and this childcare thing. Listen to this answer. There is an answer here. Get ready.
To universal paid sick leave, paid family leave. We need to have, and this is part of what we have done in the American Rescue Plan, saying that childcare needs to be affordable and available.
Affordable and available? How do you know how you make fucking childcare affordable for people who make $15,000 a year, Kamala? Do you know how you do that? You mandate it that it's free. Holy shit. The solution here is to give paid sick leave, to paid family leave, like if we give paid time off to these workers, that'll fix the fucking problem. If we give paid time off, that will solve the problems. Specifically, I think we're still talking about women of color. We're going to help women of color who are making minimum wage $15,000 a year, $7.25 an hour. You can't survive. You cannot survive. So the whole thing about making childcare affordable, someone who's making $7.25 an hour, you tell them, you know what? I'm going to help you out. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure you get paid time off. And I'm going to make sure that you can afford your childcare. That'll solve your problems. Right? And then we can move on, right? Why is she doing this? She's doing this because these are the things that she wants in the next bill. These are the small things, the incremental things that she wants in the bill. So she wants to highlight these as though they are solutions to the problems that are being presented. That is so fucking insulting. That is so fucking insulting.
Because we have many places in the country, including our rural communities, that are experiencing what we call childcare deserts. So even before the pandemic, there just was not childcare, it was not available, and it certainly was not affordable. So these are some of the things that we need to do. We also need...
What things we need to do? What are you going to do? You're going to make it affordable. What does that mean? You're going to make it affordable for people who make $15,000 a year? I'm really curious about what that means. I'm really curious if any of the journalists want to know what that means. How do you afford? What price do you need to pay in order to afford childcare if you only make $15,000 a year? What price should you pay? They're not going to ask that.
We need to value the dignity of work.
Hear that? Listen to that again. This is the solution.
Not childcare, it was not available, and it certainly was not affordable.
This is it.
So these are some of the things that we need to do. We also need to value the dignity of work.
That's what we need to do. We need to value the dignity of work. That's the solution. So all of these women of color, you're going through tough times right now? You know what the solution is? We need to value work. You need to value your work more. Holy shit. Imagine telling people who are in poverty that you need to value work. That's the solution. You need to value the dignity of work.
And when we look at the jobs that women are performing, in particular in lower wage positions, these are the jobs that invariably are about caring for other human beings. And we as a society should value that.
We should value that people make $15,000 a year. We should value that? Are you fucking crazy? Are you out of your mind? Are you out of your fucking mind? Holy shit, that's what she's telling you. Holy shit.
It's an incredible gift that they give us as a society. But we have sadly diminished our recognition of its value.
And so what do you do about that, lady? You could raise the minimum wage to $15. You could. Or you could just make childcare affordable. Then they'll be happy. That's your answer? This is your answer. Wow.
And the reflection of our diminishing appreciation of its values, that we're not paying people enough money to do the work that they're doing.
We're not paying them enough money to do the work that they're doing. You're right, Kamala. We're not paying them enough. Thanks for telling us what we already know. We all know that people who make $15,000 a year don't make enough to live. You can't live off of that wage. We know this. So your solution is to give paid time off and affordable childcare. That's your solution. And to value the dignity of work, which is basically another way of saying to pick yourself up by your bootstraps and value work. You're lazy if you're unemployed. That's the point. You need to value work. If you're poor, you just need to value work. That's the point here, okay? That's the answer. That's the answer.
And just to follow up on that, and you mentioned this, but one of the main reasons women leave the workforce is childcare.
One of the main reasons women leave work is because of childcare. Also because they get fired. Because we're in the middle of a pandemic. Because there are no jobs. It's like we're just going to ignore that there are crises. We're going to address the fact that there are crises, but we're just going to ignore and pretend like they don't exist.
What should the federal government's role be in childcare?
Great question.
One of the things that the president and I have been advocating throughout, for each of us throughout our careers, is we need to have a national commitment to affordable childcare.
A national commitment to affordable childcare. Affordable. You know what's affordable right now? Free. That's the only thing that's affordable that we'll accept. But that's not what she wants. Because that's not what she's saying. She wants it to be affordable. Who gets to judge what is and is not affordable? Do you get to judge that? Because I'm pretty sure you're the one with power and we're not. So I think you get to judge that, Kamala. Are you going to tell us what your plans are for what you mean by affordable? No, she's not going to do that.
And in many cases, the reason for that is that people are paying almost more for childcare than they're paying for college tuition.
Why are you smiling? So, what does it mean to make it affordable? It's extremely expensive.
If my mother, that every mother would have a Miss Shelton in your life who lives 2 doors down who can help take care of your kids. And often the situation is that childcare is more expensive than their salary. So it's both in terms of what we do to pay people their value, but also have a national commitment to affordable childcare. We do that.
Also, I just want to mention something. This kind of makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable. And I don't know how you guys think about this. I'm really curious in the comment section, but it feels very uncomfortable to be discussing childcare when the topic is helping women. Because when you do that, you're kind of pushing forward this message as though women are in charge of childcare. Like that's the presupposition that I feel like is hidden underneath all of this. And that's pretty fucking gross. So if we were talking about men, would you also be talking about childcare? I don't think so. And what does that mean? What does that say? What would that say? Yeah, I don't like this. This makes me feel really uncomfortable.
That in the American Rescue Plan, and there are billions of dollars that we have put into the child care system. And
so we already made it fucking affordable. We did it in the rescue plan, okay? We made child care affordable. Hey, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, everyone. Hey, all you people. Child care is affordable now. Because that was the bill that they passed. So now we're good. We're good now. We did the thing. Now we just got to do the paid time off, a little bit of paid time off, and we're good. We'll call it good. We solve all the problems for women of color.
And also into what we need to do around extending, for example, at least during the course of the pandemic, everything from unemployment benefits to what we're going to do in terms of extending benefits for the folks around the $1,400 checks.
What are you going to do? That's the question. Don't just tell us that you're going to do stuff. Tell us what you're going to do, because that's the question.
Since you've been in office since January, what have you learned about issues facing women? What has surprised you? What resources are there, bright spots, and where are the disparities?
Great question.
Well, I've been focused on issues affecting women and girls my whole career. So I think while I've been in office, the things that I've known before have been reinforced, to be sure. And it relates to, again, for example, for the years that I was a prosecutor, I specialized in crimes against women and children.
You specialized in crimes against women and children? I don't think you specialized in crimes, because people who specialize in crime, they're called criminals. I think you prosecuted people for smoking pot. I think that's what you did. I think you locked up people for smoking pot. I also think you locked up the women, and then you also put the children in foster care. That's what you did. That's what you did. That was your... Okay, so you're helping women. Okay.
And we have seen during the course of the pandemic when women and children are isolated and alone in that way, that we are seeing higher incidence of abuse.
So again, she's just telling you, now that we have this pandemic, now that everyone's in their home, we have more abuse. That doesn't answer the question.
And it does highlight the importance of having a social service structure, having a structure where we have the ability to have safe places for women and children to go, so that they can be free of harm, safety. We have also seen that among large populations of women and their children, that there is a lack of support in terms of, again, what we need to do around childcare and all of those issues. These are things that we've been working on for years, understanding that women should not have to be presented with false choices that say you either have a career or you raise your children. They should be able to do both.
They should be able to do both. How about we don't presuppose that the woman is taking care of the child, that the woman is responsible for the child, right? Again, this is a weird connection between childcare and women. Women can work and men can take care of the child too. In fact, that should happen. It should be a 50-50 thing. It shouldn't just be the women and they can't work because they have a child. They can't work. That's not the presupposition here. You shouldn't make that presupposition. That's a shit presupposition. The dad is just as responsible for the kid as the mom. And I don't understand why that's not obvious here.
And so these are some of the issues that have been highlighted during the course of my time in this position, which of course has been during the pandemic. So a lot of my time as vice president has been defined by meeting the challenges of the pandemic and what we need to do to rescue folks.
Meeting them? I think it sounds like you're learning about them. See, here's the answer that you should have expected. I learned that it was really difficult to talk with Chuck Schumer about getting that minimum wage, $15. He made it incredibly challenging. You should call him, stop donating to him, put political pressure on him because he's the reason why you didn't get the $15 minimum. Like, start throwing people under the bus. You're a politician. I learned about this person. I learned about that. I learned that if you fight for this, then these people are going to attack me. None of that is what's being said are the things that journalists are responsible for uncovering. See, here's the thing. Don't believe anything that politicians tell you because they can just lie to you. Their job is to pass policy. Their job isn't to investigate the problems. Do you know who is really good at investigating problems and understanding what's going on? Not politicians. That's not their job. Journalists. Journalists bring that to light to the politicians, and the politicians respond. That's not what's going on here.
Who are suffering and barely surviving and get through this.
And obviously, you've been a major part of the American Rescue Plan, and the president has said you're the first one in the room and you're the last one to leave the room at these meetings. So what does it mean? What impact does it have when women are front and center of recovery efforts? Do the discussions or outcomes differ when women are at the table?
I don't think women are front and center with the American Rescue Plan. I think an old white man is front and center behind the American Rescue Plan, just to clarify.
Well, not only first and last, but throughout the meeting in the room, participating.
So her response is, listen, I know you said I was an overachiever by complimenting me, by saying that I'm always first in the room and I'm always last to leave. I know you just complimented me, but let me just say something. I'm there the whole fucking time, okay?
And, you know.
So you can just correct that now, okay? You can apologize now, okay, lady?
Helping to shape the discussion and to inform the decisions. And the president has been very generous in seeking my input and participation. So I have to say that about him.
How?
He really is really great that way.
He's really great that way. He just always takes my input. What input do you provide him? What are your answers? What are the things you tell him?
And in many ways. You know, look, one of the things that I've been focused on is what we need to do to support small business owners. And I've been meeting in particular with women small business owners. And again, the child care issue comes up, but also access to capital. I'm working with
access to capital. All of you people who are making minimum wage, $15,000 a year. All of you, the answer to solve your problem is to provide capital for all of you to start a small business. Do you understand how stupid that sounds? Do you understand how that's impossible? We can't solve this problem by dumping tons of money on a select few who get approved by you to get a grant.
Janet Yellen, our first woman Treasury Secretary, on what we can do to support community banks, they're called CDFIs, and get more resources there to get greater access to capital for our small business owners.
Because we just want to help the small business owners. The rest of the people can go fuck themselves, okay?
Again, a priority around women and minority-owned businesses. Understanding that before the pandemic, women were one of the fastest growing groups of entrepreneurs in our country.
But not all black women and brown women and all the women of color, they can't be small business owners all at the same time. Do you understand why that doesn't make any sense? Because you have the small business owners and then you have the people who are paid minimum wage who are still making $15,000 a year. Are you going to address them? No, you're just going to dump money on a select few still. That's what you're doing.
And be it the women I've met who own and run a beauty salon, to the women I've met who have a knitting store, and
they're fucking closing right now, and they're all fucking filing, all of them basically, they're all fucking filing for bankruptcy. You think this company could succeed by selling yarn right now? No. No, you know why? Because they don't have any customers, because they're all forced in their homes right now. And you know what they could really use right now? Some fucking assistance along with everyone else.
And these incredible yarns to the women I've met who are running small businesses that are focused on software development.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, women of color don't go to college as often because they can't afford it. You already just mentioned how childcare is more expensive than tuition. That was your way of explaining that childcare is expensive. So tuition is expensive. That's the presupposition you had earlier, which means, and this is true, women of color don't get accepted into college as much. And so you're expecting women of color to somehow magically show up in a fucking college, learn all of the fucking software programming necessities that you need to get a job in software engineering or programming or something, which, by the way, is fucking impossible at this point. You expect them to go through all of that shit and somehow get a job, and that's going to solve the fucking problem. That's the crisis that we're in. That's the solution.
And we want to make sure that there's an equal opportunity for access to capital for them to not only start their business, but grow their business. So,
equal opportunity. It's not equal opportunity if you don't give the capital to everyone. If only a select few can become small business owners, and that's how it fucking works. We can't all own businesses. That's not equal opportunity. That's not giving the same opportunity to everyone. That's giving certain people opportunity and everyone else nothing.
So this has been one of the areas of focus. Another area of focus, and so this is part of the discussions we have in those rooms, is what we need to do around acknowledging disparities. So
acknowledging disparities, what we need to do to acknowledge disparities. I'm pretty certain professors have already done this for the last 5 fucking decades, at least. They have been exploiting everything. Journalists have been exploiting everything. We don't need politicians to investigate shit. That's not your job. Your job isn't to hire investigators.
So what we've been talking about, racial disparities, gender disparities. There is actually a bill that I had when I was in the Senate around creating a racial disparities task force. And
creating a task force? You just want to fucking create a task force? That's how you want to address this? Just create a task force. Oh, I remember when the progressives in Congress created a task force and did nothing to move Biden to the left. So let's make a task force. That's a great idea.
And that is incorporated in our American Rescue Plan and the work we are doing to track disparities in terms of how populations have been affected by COVID, by the pandemic, by...
We already know the journalists preface their question with the fucking information that you're looking for. She's looking for information that the journalist gave to her in the fucking interview.
What we are doing or should be doing in terms of delivering resources to folks who need them.
How do you deliver resources to folks? What the fuck does that mean?
So these are some of the things. Pay equity, big issue that we have been talking a lot about and with a need to address in a very serious way.
Very serious.
Disparities, I think women generally 82 cents on the dollar, black women 62 cents on the dollar, Native women 57, Latinas 54.
Yeah, that's really fucking bad. Well, first off, how do you address the fucking wage disparity? That's a great question.
So there's the work we need to do there. And also back to the point about the dignity of work, the work we need to do to fight for working women, to make sure they are receiving the wages and benefits they deserve for their work. I convened women labor leaders recently.
What do we need to work on?
Who are everything from women who are working construction sites and building trades, to the women who are teachers, to the women who are frontline workers in the healthcare and services industry, home healthcare workers.
Just talking to people.
And I brought those labor leaders together, those women labor leaders together, to say, let's work together.
You got people together. What? This is what?
Labor lead, home healthcare workers. And I brought those labor leaders together, those women labor leaders together, to say, let's work together.
But the whole fucking point of you being a politician having power is you have the power. They don't have the power. You do. There's a difference between... If you're a politician, you don't work with workers. You pass legislation that benefits workers. You can listen to workers, but what do you mean by work with them?
On supporting women who are in the workforce in every capacity to make sure they are receiving the dignity they deserve, and
Well, they're not.
dignity being reflected in their wages and their benefits.
So many
Wages and their benefits. Yeah, we should help the dignity by somehow addressing the wages and the benefits. What can we do with the wage? Wow, what the fuck can we do with the wage? Gosh, you know what? We should make childcare affordable. That's what we should do. That's how we'll address the wage and benefits. Are you happy now?
Many women are struggling right now. They're stretched thin with childcare, demanding jobs. We would like to hear from you. Leave America's women with a message, please.
This is her message for America's women.
I'm going to look in the camera for this one.
So keep in mind, all of these questions prefaced with, we're in the middle of a fucking pandemic and economic disaster. What's your message for women?
First of all, know you are not alone. These have been difficult, hard times. And where you've got to sit at your kitchen table after the kids have gone to sleep, where you're trying to figure out how to make ends meet, how to get through it all.
Yeah,
know
it
you
sucks.
are not alone.
That doesn't help. If you're fucking poor, sitting around the kitchen table with no food to eat, you know what you need to do? Just know that you're not alone. Yeah, that's my message for you. Know that everyone else also doesn't have food on their fucking table. Yeah, know that you're not alone.
Know that you are supported. Know that your voice is strong.
It's strong. Know that your voice is strong. What does that mean? Should we be using our voice for something, Kamala? Should we be fighting for something, Kamala? You should be listening. You should be looking for us. We're the people who vote you in. You're not entitled to your position. She feels entitled because her position was given to her. You didn't make that decision. Kamala Harris's boss made that decision, okay? So she's entitled to her position. That's how she feels. This is the biggest fucking slap to the face to all women. I don't understand how you could... If you're a woman right now and you listen to this, do you really think that, like, that's acceptable? Do you really think that this person wants to help you out?
Ends meet, how to get through it all. Know you are not alone.
Just know that you're not alone.
Know that you are supported. Know that your voice is strong.
You're supported. You're supported by all the voters. You're not supported by me, okay? I'm not going to pass anything for you. I might give you affordable childcare. I might. I haven't done it yet. Could have done it on the first day. Right? Because there should be no roadblocks. There's no roadblocks. The House, the Senate, the executive branch, all blue. Should be no reason why you can't just take the whole DNC fucking platform and just pass it. But, you know what? We might give you affordable childcare. Yay!
It's strong. And don't let any circumstance diminish that or take your power from you. You are powerful.
You're powerful. So if you don't have any food, just know you're not alone and you are powerful. As you don't eat, you become weaker. Do you know how to address that? You don't fucking give them childcare. You give them food. If they're dying and they can't afford the healthcare bill, and so they're not going to be able to get the service that they need, which maybe only costs like $500, so they're going to have to fucking die now. So, well, sorry, you can't pay your fucking $500 bill. I guess you're going to have to fucking die.
You are powerful. And when we all stand together, that's when we are our best selves.
That's when we're what? What did she say?
When we all stand together, that's when we are our best selves.
Best selves? When we all stand together, that's when we're all best selves?
And so let's continue to know we are not alone. We are all in this together.
We're all in this together. We're all fucked, I guess. Guess we're all in this together. Guess we're all fucked. All the people making $15,000, well, we're all in this together. All the people who are starving right now, all the people who can't afford their health, all the people who are homeless right now, well, you're not alone. We're all in this together. We're all gonna fucking deal with that shit too. All of us. Great, Kamala. Thank you.
And keep doing what you do because
just keep fucking
you have
failing.
an incredible amount of courage.
Because you have courage. Just keep fucking, just don't do anything else, okay? Don't protest. Just do what you do. Nothing will fundamentally change, so don't fundamentally change. You start protesting and shit, then it's going to make me nervous. I might lose my job. I might lose my credibility. And Joe Biden might throw me under the bus or something. I don't know. Look what Trump did to Pence. I don't want to be that next Pence, you know.
You have an incredible amount of conviction. You are dedicated. Know that is the sign of strength.
Not having food on the table is a sign of like, you're going to fucking die. Right? So you might be able to afford your apartment, and if you can, you're not going to be able to afford the rest of your shit, that's for sure. Unless you're rich. Unless you're Kamala Harris, and you're 100 millionaire or something like that. Oh, she's fucking so rich. She is laughing in your face.
It is the sign of strength. The measure of strength, in my opinion, is based not on who you beat down, it's based on who you lift up.
So just lift people up. That's my message to you.
And I know you're lifting up people every day. You are strong.
You're strong. So just do nothing. Just keep doing what you're doing.